Welcome to the podcast, Pilates for PTs, from business to clinical. Hi y'all, my name is Stephen Dunn. I co-own Core Therapy and Pilates in Austin, Texas, and I'm the founder of Pilates for PTs. I've been a physical therapist for over 20 years, and I've been teaching Pilates and gyrotonic in my physical therapy practice for the last 15 years. In this podcast, I interview experts from all over the world so that you can learn more on how to grow your business or how to improve your clinical skills as a Pilates instructor in the physical therapy world. Thanks for listening. All right. Hey, guys, welcome to the podcast. And today, all the way in from a suburb of Washington, D.C., we have Dr. Keva Price. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her story and her journey to physical therapy and Pilates. So with that said, Keva, welcome to the program. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yes.
Yes. I'm so glad to have you. Now, briefly, I'll tell a little story of how we first met. We were in Clearwater Beach at the Smart Success Physical Therapy Conference in 2019. It was Memorial Day, May. And we were a part of a little Pilates meetup where we did a little group class on the beach, and we met in person. So a lot of the people that I'm interviewing through this podcast, some I've met and some I haven't, and it's fun to have a name and a face with the people that I've actually met in person. So that's kind of our story. That's all I really know. We've been Facebook friends, and I've seen some changes in the things that she's been doing with her Pilates, and that's why I reached out to her and I wanted to kind of know her story. So with that said, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the physical therapy world first of all?
Okay, sure. Yeah, physical therapy started first. Actually, in high school, my mom had just recommended the career to me, and she had physical therapy before I was born, and she did really well, and I looked into the career, and I realized that it really fit my personality. So I like to be active at work. I like to meet new people, I like being around people. So with physical therapy, I could do that. I felt I could do that. I've had over the years a few orthopedic type issues. I'm a bit hypermobile, so I definitely liked fitness and being active. Group dancing and cheering, and actually still dance now. I'm on a salsa team, so all of that combined actually led me to PT. And then once I got in and looked more into it, I realized that it just really fit me. My personality.
Yeah. And so you were in the high school age when your mom had recommended it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Got it.
High school. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And had you experienced some physical therapy prior to that, or did you experience it after you had already actually once it was already kind of on your radar?
Well, I never had physical therapy before I became a physical therapist. I had, again, small injuries and really self-treated them on my own. And through cheerleading, through dance, we did some fitness exercise. So I got some strengthening, but soon realized, especially once I got to orthopedic PT class, that I needed to go into a little bit more deeper myself. Yeah.
I love it. You know, it's interesting because when it was my very last semester at college, January, and I was about to graduate, and I didn't know I was in PT school yet, but I ended up getting in and starting. I graduated on a Saturday and I started school on Monday. It was crazy. But I tore the ligament. I tore the ATF in my left ankle playing basketball on the first day of school. And it was one of those things where, I'd already put in all my hours to apply. I'd already had my interview, everything. I was just kind of waiting to find out if I was in or not. And all of a sudden I had this massive ankle injury. And so the PT who I've been shadowing and who I'd worked with for several, I shadowed with him for, a summer, ended up getting a job, $5 an hour working as a tech. And, he was really, him and this gal were the two that really influenced me to know, like you said, like once you were in it, that, this fits my personality. It was great. But once I hurt my ankle, I went and actually had treatment. And it was the first time I'd actually had treatment. And it was interesting because, being the PT tech aide, helping out people. It was it was such a cool thing, but I'd never been on that other side of it. And once I was on the other side of it, it was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. This is different. And it taught me a lot, so that when I got into school, and then once I got out of school, I think it helped me a little bit with just seeing that side. And most of my classmates had experienced PT as a patient before, that kind of led them to become to the physical therapy world. So with that said, tell me when did you finish school? How long have you been out of school?
I finished physical therapy school in 2000.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been practicing since 2000, and I have a master's degree in physical therapy. And I found Pilates by I initially saw a continuing education booklet on the director, the office I worked in, the director's desk, and I didn't know anything about it. The pictures looked like dance to me, sort of some dance moves, and I decided to take that continuing education. It was just a mat course, and I really liked it. And they offered training in the apparatuses.
Got it. And that was your first experience with Pilates, was from taking a continuing education class to get mat certified.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think I did that around 2002, 2003 or so. Yeah.
Got it. And was that something that you, at that point in time, were immediately able to start bringing into your work environment with your clients, your patients?
With some exercises, yes. I just started teaching some of the basics, just with breathing, some of the fundamentals, and I was able to incorporate that along with my treatment pretty easily, the mat portion of Pilates.
And what kind of setting were you working in at that time? Was it an outpatient setting?
Yes, so I've practiced in the outpatient PT world since the beginning.
Got it.
Yeah.
Myself, I did a little bit of spinal cord and stroke recovery in patient rehab unit, my first travel job, and I did a little bit of home health when I first opened my first contract business. And other than that, it's been straight orthopedics outpatient. So, and then with learning and kind of implementing that with some of your patients, what slowly transpired for you to continue to want to investigate Pilates, want to incorporate it more? Because I'm going to lead up to what you're doing now, but what kind of stoked the fire back in 2004, 3, 4, and 5, applying it, implementing it with your patients? What led to you say, this is something I want to continue to do, I want to learn more about?
Yeah, I wanted to look into getting trained on the piece of apparatus. Initially, it looked really cool and fun. Before I got on the equipment, once I got on the equipment, I realized that using different Pilates equipment, I could feel and train muscles, isolate certain muscles differently versus using like the traditional gym equipment. And so that inspired me to want to go even further.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it definitely is I see how well Pilates can merge with physical therapy and enhance physical therapy treatment that we do.
Now tell me a little bit about where you're at now, because I know, again, this conversation or a post you put online is what led me to reach out to you for this podcast. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think it was around 30 hours a week of working in the clinic, but then now you're doing some teaching in a Pilates studio. So could you tell us a little bit more about that and kind of how this came to life?
Well, I work at, again, outpatient PT office about 33, 34 hours a week. But I wanted to begin to build my Pilates base. For some years, I've had 1 or 2 clients, Pilates clients, but recently I just wanted to have more Pilates work in general to help enhance my PT work. So I contacted, actually it was a PT, a Pilates studio. The owner I had done some continuing education with in Pilates, and they were looking for an instructor. And so I just recently started teaching privates there as well as some classes. And on the equipment, I do reformer and tower class. I do about 8 hours a week in Pilates. So it's 2 different places though. So I travel a little bit. Sometimes during the time frame that I have can be a little bit of traffic, but I enjoy it. I see the benefits of both.
Yeah. And are the 2 places different as far as, do you get to teach privates at one and classes at one, or are you doing the same thing at both?
Well, I just teach Pilates at one studio, but then I do purely physical therapy in an outpatient office. I mean, I incorporate some mat Pilates work in the physical therapy office.
Got it.
But I work at one studio I teach private and classes.
And you have full access to the full apparatus at the studio?
Yes.
And what about the outpatient facility? Do you have access to a reformer?
No, we don't have any Pilates equipment in our outpatient physical therapy office. But in the studio that I work with, it's in Rockville, Maryland, Pilates Center of Rockville. And they have full apparatuses, classes. Actually, just moved to a bigger
Studio.
Space. So that's exciting.
And again, you found these people because you'd already had a relationship with them. You'd already studied with them and taken some classes with them in the past, correct?
Yes. I actually had taken 2 continuing education classes at the owner's studio, and I actually saw they had an opening for a Pilates instructor. And I thought, okay, I'm just go ahead and apply there. I've actually done that once before. I taught at another studio in the area where I really called up. I looked up the studio. I Googled some Pilates studios and asked if they were looking for a new instructor that's also a physical therapist. And they were open to the idea of me doing actually physical therapy and Pilates there.
Yeah. And so that was my next question. With being a physical therapist, did that create an interest? Being a PT and a Pilates instructor, did that create interest from the studios, or was that something that they were kind of like unsure about that?
No, they both really expressed an interest in having a physical therapist on their Pilates studio staff. Some of the clients I have now in the Pilates studio, they decided to train with me because I was a physical therapist. So they wanted that PT background. We actually have one other physical therapist at the studio as well.
Got it. And when y'all are there, you're working as a Pilates instructor. You're not working as a PT. Is that correct? You're teaching classes in a fitness setting, correct?
Yes. So I don't do any manual work except cueing. So some hands-on with cueing, and for some manual or active stretches, but not practicing physical therapy. No.
Got it. And when you show up to work here, are you an independent contractor that just shows up and they have work for you, or do you have to bring your own clients and find your own clients?
Well, I work as an independent contractor. With their studio, they have what's set up use the mind body system, and I have my availability, and then clients can just go in and see what openings I may have. I have one client that I brought with me from another studio. The studio had closed, and then they sort of moved to a different location, and she wanted to continue to train with me. So I did continue to train with her, to train her at this current studio. But typically we found our own clients, or the studio will have some clients that are there, they're looking for trainers. I've actually done a bit on my own with my Instagram account. I have been building that and sort of establishing relationships with other Pilates instructors on the Instagram, on my Instagram account, and just talking to them. I've had some phone calls with other instructors asking them about their journey as a Pilates instructor, how they get clients, other sort of business type questions, which it's new to me.
Yeah.
And the business is new to me. So that's been helpful too, being able to establish that contact with Instagram, some Facebook. I have a YouTube channel as well, where I've reviewed some of the literature in Pilates, and I made some video reviews there. All of this has really helped me get more involved in Pilates from being a full-time physical therapist for purely PT for so many years.
Yeah.
So all that's definitely helped.
So what's your plan moving forward as far as that, like, kind of shift of 32 hours, 33 hours, 34 hours at a clinic, that you don't have the ability to use the equipment, that the 8 hours of the week you do have the ability to use the equipment in the Pilates studio? Is there going to be a shift that you see in the future, or what are your thoughts on that over the next the next short period to the next year or so?
Yes, I would like to have more Pilates clients, sort of to split my time a little more going towards Pilates, and also working on a whole like social media type of, social media, or I should say online, different endeavors that I can get myself involved in, or build my Keva Price Pilates through social media and online. But right now I'm working on building my client base at the current Pilates studio and continuing my physical therapy practice, just keeping all of my physical therapy skills strong.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Now, I do have to apologize. I have my dog in here, and she's snoring her head off. I don't know if it's...
I can't hear anything. No.
I'm sitting here kind of chuckling to myself because for about the last 10 minutes or so, she's been snoring very loud. So, but I just wanted to see if it was if anyone could hear it. So, but anyway. I love it. I love the story. And it sounds like you've got a lot going on, and you've kind of got some pokers in the fire, and you're kind of trying to figure out what's the best route and the best way for you to do it. I love how you approached the clinics or the studios that you had relationships with, or you reached out in a way that says, look, I'm a PT and a Pilates person. Are you interested? And that opened the door for me when I reached out to people when I moved here. Now, granted, it was a little different because I owned my own space down the street, and I was going to the studio saying, hey, I'm a PT down the street, but I'm here to help your people not miss their classes. And, you know, if your person can't come in and do classes with you because of an injury, send them to me. I'll get them back to you as quick as possible so that you don't miss your income. And a lot of those studio owners, they were fearful of that. They thought I was going to just like steal their clients and never bring them back or send them back or whatever. And there was a handful of them that like said, oh, wow, that'd be great. I appreciate that. And again, I always say it's depending on the mindset, right? And most of these people I encountered, they were coming from this they were coming from a scarcity mindset, and they were like, no, you're my competition. You're a PT and you have a Pilates studio. No way. Mm-hmm. And some of the people, a couple of them were like, oh, that'd be great. But I love how you just went out and were like, all right, I'm going to make this relationship with someone who I already have a little bit of a relationship with, to basically show them that I've already learned from you, and now I want to show you that I want to work with you. So I love that kind of that mindset again of not being fearful. And it sounds like you found some good people to work with, because not all the studios are coming from that place. So with that said, with your teaching and where you want to kind of progress in the future, where do you see, like, I know physical therapy is changing right now, and I know, the whole world is of the physical therapy, Medicare is changing. Where do you see like Pilates playing a role in the evolution of the physical therapy as a brand moving forward?
Wow, yes.
Sorry, that's a deep question, and you
right,
can go
right.
as deep as you want or as shallow as you want.
Deeper. I definitely believe that Pilates can help revolutionize the PT world, so that as a physical therapist, we're not just thinking about the basic exercises, isolating one body part, or ideally trying to be, yes, functional, but if we are using, let's say, or working with someone with a shoulder surgery and they're working on the rotator cuff, well, we might be working on the serratus to help with movements of the scapula and the rib cage, but we also need to maybe incorporate more of their breathing. This is where Pilates could come involved, as well as their posture of their shoulder elevation, neck posture. And I feel like Pilates can do that, Pilates method, or even using equipment or without equipment. But things like that could help to make physical therapy even more of a comprehensive practice. So I feel like that's one way Pilates can really help with physical therapy, really taking that comprehensive body approach, and also being able to spend so much longer with the client, having a whole hour to look at their whole body is awesome. Where a lot of time in the traditional outpatient office, we don't get that amount of time. Maybe the techs are working with them, doing their exercises a little more, but there's so much that you'll need to cue to try to get into the patient's muscle memory that a physical therapist with the Pilates background can really be more insightful to that. So I think that's one way. There's probably many other ways that Pilates can help with physical therapy.
It's about the holism, right? And we were all taught in school reduction down to the smallest piece, and then then Pilates was the first thing that taught me to look at the whole body and not just one piece of it, and I look back to, like, I graduated in 98. We've been out almost the same amount of time, and I'm a kid from the born in the 70s and raised in the 80s and 90s, and like everyone did like biceps and
yes,
one day, and chest and tries and back and bis and legs and blah, blah. There was just kind of like everything was so fragmented and sequenced in a way that didn't make sense to me, that I actually hated working out. I just loved playing sports. And then when I went to PT school, I kind of learned the same, like, reductionism, this like, look at one joint, everything's like one thing, instead of it like being the whole body. And again, I struggled with that concept of like reducing. And once I found Pilates, again, I had no idea that this is what I was going to get from it. And again, I just wanted to, someone hung up on me when I didn't know what it was, trying to get a job. So I was like, what the heck is it? And so for me, I didn't know much about going into it at all. I just was, then the more I found out, I was super interested. But all of a sudden, when I got out of my Pilates training and I could look at the whole body and I could say, wow, well, yeah, your rotator cuff's a problem, but it's like everything you just mentioned about all the shoulder elevation and all that stuff. We kind of learned about that in PT school, but I really didn't know how to get someone to understand it, to get it. And the awareness they got with Pilates, the awareness of strengthening the whole body, starting with the mind, starting with the breathing, and again, teaching them abdominal stuff. So all of a sudden I got someone that's a rotator cuff patient, and I'm doing hamstring series with them on a reformer. And they'd be like, why are you doing hamstring series on a reformer? Because I'm like, because I want them to be able to breathe properly, and I want them to relax their shoulders and or not necessarily relax them, relax their chest and upper traps so they put their shoulders in a right position while they're working other parts of their body. And for me, that was the big frustration, is that no one wanted me to work on the whole body. They wanted me to only work on like, oh, their neck. You should only be doing neck exercises. Well, feet and straps on a reformer isn't really classified as a neck exercise, right?
Right.
So that was kind of my big frustration, is because I was applying it to all my patients from an early time, but I was getting kickback and resistance from the insurance and from people that were paying. They were like looking at my notes and then saying, "Oh, we're not paying for this crap. We don't even know what you're doing."
Yes, I see what you're saying.
And that was that was one of the, so I learned holism from Pilates. My patients loved it. They were getting better. But as a business owner, I was realizing, wow, like this ain't working, because they're after me. They don't like me. I'm the weird
right.
that they don't want to pay. So that was kind of my challenge. And after 10 years of taking insurance, I stopped taking it, and it's been 4 years now without it. And I'm so grateful I did, because I can truly now just serve the client. But my clinic's a little different now. So I spend pretty much most of my time doing hands-on, preparing them for Pilates. And then I move them over to work with my trainer. And I spend some time on the reformers with them and on the equipment with them. And I'm gyrotonic trained as well. So I spend a little bit of time on both sides. But I don't really spend a whole lot of hours sessions of teaching Pilates, because I got 6 or 7 trainers that work for us that we've trained. Most of them we trained ourselves, my wife and I. And I can just stay in the room doing what I love, and that's manual therapy and teaching them homework and teaching them how to do the things at home.
Nice.
And then I progress them. And, again, I teach them a little bit on the machines. But then as soon as they don't need me, what I'm doing, I step out and I have them work with my trainers. But me and my trainers, then they're kind of like an aide. They're kind of like an assistant. I shouldn't say a PT assistant. They're like an aide or a tech. There we go. I couldn't think of that word. And I'm communicating with them. We've got a system in the chart. They know what the goals are, what we're working on. And it's no longer really, they're not in a PT session in that hour, but they are in a session that's been developed by me based on their conditions and my trainers understanding our program on kind of what to do with them. So that's kind of where we've morphed into. And so I spend sometimes an hour with them, and sometimes I'm spending half hour with them, and they'll see me for half hour and they'll go right over to work with my trainers and spend an hour with my trainer, maybe a half hour with my trainer. So it's very fun. And I don't teach as much on the equipment as when I took insurance, because I would be spending a whole lot with them. But so now my things are a little different. It's a little shift in the way we've set it up. But again, it works nice because it keeps people around a long time. It keeps people in our world doing the work, seeing me, seeing the trainers, doing our group classes. We have group classes of up to 4 people on the reform or on the gyro times. So it works out nice that we're exposing them to all the equipment, but then we're like, look, we know this can get expensive to do private lessons long term. So if you want to do a group class, and so it's kind of a funnel from seeing me, PT, to introducing them to Pilates, to then working with my trainers privately, to then working in a group class. And that funnel, it's more expensive at the top of the funnel and less expensive at the bottom when they get to the group classes. And that's how we keep people around a long, long time and never really discharge, but kind of continuing to stay in our world. So, and that's that's to me the beauty and the power of Pilates is that you can keep people in your world.
Yes. That sounds like a great concept too. The model you have going, it sounds great. Yeah.
It's really been working great, and the clients love it and the clients appreciate it. And I may not see them for a month or 2 because they moved on to work with my trainers, but then they pop back in because something's like flared up. But because of all the work they've been doing, I see them like maybe once, maybe twice, and they're continuing on with the plan. And so it really does work well. And it's not dictated by insurance. It's not dictated by like, oh, I'm not going to get paid for this. I'm worried.
Exactly. Yeah.
In all fairness, I started kind of writing my notes falsely a little bit because I didn't want to get dinged and not get paid. I was really paying them back. They were making me pay them back, which was even more painful because I'd already had the money and spent it. Yeah, I'd have to pay them. They would send me a letter saying, you need to pay us back because we reviewed your notes and that you're working on their back when they were a shoulder patient, or, you're working on their scapula stabilization when they're a knee patient. And I was just blown away that was where we were going. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to play this game anymore. And it wasn't it wasn't a lot, but it would be a scenario where like I'd get pre-approval for someone to work on their back, and then another pre-approval to work on their jaw, and another pre-approval to work on their knee. And that was kind of the game that we were having to play with insurance. And then someone would come in and I would have 3 charts for them.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, well, and I would just treat them and do what they needed that day. But then I had to figure out how to document that. And like, oh, well, today's like jaw day. Well, we didn't do much on the jaw today because it's getting better. Well, but today's jaw day. And again, these were all of my challenges and frustrations. Now, let me ask you this: when you when you are in your work environment now in the outpatient clinic and you're teaching people some mat work and you're teaching people some breathing, is there a way, or is this even, this may not even be something you're interested in, but is there a way for you to communicate or work out a situation with your boss there that you bring a reformer in there and you start working out like some kind of profit sharing situation where if you generate income on some kind of wellness program that you would get paid more than you're getting paid in your traditional PT setting? Is that something that would be even feasible, or is that something way out in left field?
No, it's actually feasible. I work for a company, not a private company, but a large physical therapy company, and a few clinics have a reformer. I think, well, maybe not a few in this area, maybe just one in my area have a reformer. I haven't really looked into how they work with billing or outside of billing or as a private wellness program, but it's feasible. Something else I could definitely look into.
Because that was the first thing that I did was I was already doing contract work for this company. So I was already an independent contractor, 1099, but they had a break room that was a little bit bigger than a treatment room. And I went to them and I said, hey, let me have the break room. And they had 2 of these break rooms. So it was really it was totally wasted space.
Mm-hmm.
It had boxes and a TV and files in it. And I was like, hey, can I have that extra room, and I'll rearrange that other room, and I'll move everything into that other room so it all fits, because I knew that it would all fit. And I said, and let me, I'm going to buy a reformer, and I want to start building a Pilates program for you. And the guy's like, well, tell me more. And I was like, okay, well, the reformer's kind of expensive, so this is what I'm going to be investing in it. And I'm going to be willing to start building a PPO program for you, because they were an HMO only clinic at the time. And he goes, okay, that's an interesting idea. And I was like, so instead of building HMOs, your HMO contracts that you already have established, we'll start building some PPO plans. And, I'll go market PPO doctors, and I'll treat the patients until their insurance cuts them off. And then I'll have them work with my wife, Cheryl, and she'll come in and work on Saturdays, and she'll work in the afternoons, even cause she had a full-time job originally. So she can come in and work in the mornings from say 6 to 8, and then she can come back in the afternoons and work 6 to 8. And so before you know it, we were hustling, but we built this program, and he went for it, and it was a profit sharing deal. So it was like, you get paid this amount, but then you get a percentage of any dollar that you bring in. And that was kind of what I had worked out with him. And so at the end of the month, all of a sudden he would look at the numbers and be like, wow, this is an extra $20,000 that we brought in this month.
Oh, wow.
Billing HMOs for the whole month instead, because it was all, I'm sorry, PPOs, excuse me.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And this is a long time ago. This is 2001 when HMOs were still, king before PPOs kind of took over. Right. And he wanted to figure out how to get into that PPO world. And all of a sudden he realized that the doctors were willing to send people over to Pilates. And then all of a sudden they were paying Cheryl for Pilates after discharge. And so he's like, whoa. So he would see that this extra money come in, I get my cut of it. And he was like going, this is pretty good, until my cut got a little too big, meaning all of a sudden, once I grew it for a year.
Wow.
So after a year, I was completely working at that one place, none of his other clinics. And I was seeing, I was working full time. Cheryl was seeing probably, we'll say 10 to 12 people a week. And my percentage, my 30% check was pretty high. And he freaked out. And that's when he went into his scarcity mindset instead of, I was coming from this abundant mindset. I thought he was too. But whenever all of a sudden my check got too big as a PT, I shouldn't be making this amount of money. He overlooked the fact that if I'm making 30%, he's making 70%. Right.
Right.
And, I thought he loved me. And then I realized, wow, he's about to let me go because of his fear. Even though I built something that was profitable, that was bringing in an extra couple $100,000 a year that wasn't happening before. And that was my story of, all right, I know it's time to do it on my own, because
right.
I thought I was doing something really great for this guy. I thought I was like going to build a great relationship, long-term relationship with him. And he just freaked out. And so it was a lesson, great learning lesson. So,
right.
But that's why I asked that, because that was something that I did first. And again, there's many ways to do many things, but that was something that allowed me to start, because I didn't like working. Once I learned Pilates, I didn't like working at the clinics that didn't have a reformer or
something. Right.
Yeah, I didn't like it, because I gotten spoiled of teaching. Because at that point in time, I'd spend 30 minutes of my time doing manual therapy and 30 minutes of my time teaching on the equipment on a typical hour patient. And so all of a sudden I'm seeing people for 30 minutes doing all manual, all HMO, some extra manual and exercise, but it was in a little corner of a gym where I had all this gym equipment, but I wasn't interested in any of that gym equipment. I wasn't interested in teaching on it. I didn't like any of it, And so for me, until I got hands on a reformer, and that was why I went to him, I was like, I really need a reformer, because I needed to get better at teaching on it, because I'd been through my training, and all of a sudden I wasn't working and having the ability to teach on it at the place.
Right. Yeah. You really need that.
Yeah. So that's kind of my story. And again, I knew our stories were going to be very different, but as I listened to it, I was just like, I just wanted to ask you those questions to make you think a little bit. And again,
totally understand.
Maybe you talk to them about buying a reformer, and you be the person that builds a little program for them. But, for me, when I bought it, I was already a business owner in a 1099. By me buying it, I could write it off, and I could then have more skin in the game of asking for more percentage. Right. So it's like, yeah, I paid I don't know how much I paid at the time. I'm just going to guess $4,000 for a reformer. And I didn't really have that $4,000 at the time, but because of the way business structure is, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to get it and figure it out, because then I made enough money on my 30% profit sharing over the next year that I paid that $4,000 back easily. So
wow, I mean, that's definitely something. Yeah, I definitely would consider. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And again, I know that everyone is in a different place in this process. And has different skills and different things that people can learn from. So, and again, it's a fantastic, for me, it's fantastic to just get together and chat and hear. And I just wanted to hear, tell me about how you're teaching and how this all came apart. So I really appreciate your time. I know we both are at a point where we're running out of time to get ready to go see some afternoon clients. So let me ask you this. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you, get in touch with you? You mentioned some of your Instagram and your YouTube.
Right.
Give me some of those channels and ways for people to reach out and follow you and get in touch with you.
Sure. So Instagram is at Keva Price Pilates. It's Keva Price. And then also on Instagram is at Salsa Physio.
Okay.
And then I also have a YouTube channel, Keva Price Pilates.
Awesome.
Making it really easy. My email address is the same, Keva Price Pilates at Gmail. If anyone has any questions or anything like that.
Awesome.
So yes.
Well, I really appreciate your time. And again, I love to compare and contrast, because we in this physical therapy world, we all have an opportunity once we get our degree and we go through the board process to figure out what and how we want to help people. And there's a million ways to do it, I found, in this industry. And in the Pilates world, I didn't seek it out, it found me. And by it finding me, it was something that changed my posture, it changed my ability to help people, and it's become a big, huge, basically a massive part of my wife and I's business, our life, everything. And when I meet other people and find out from other people that are, again, had a similar journey or just have an interest in Pilates, to me, it starts raising up the hairs on the back of my neck, and I start saying, ooh, let's talk, let's have a conversation. So again, I really appreciate your time. Again, we all have great stories to tell and share. And I know someone listening to this podcast will get something out of this and say, I can do that.
Definitely, yeah. If
That's
anybody, has questions about sort of any other details they want to know of how I started and how I've been progressing, yeah, I'd love to hear from them.
Awesome.
Really.
Awesome. Well, Keva, it's again great to have some time with you today. I really, really appreciate it, and I learned something today from you. I hope we all had a learning experience, and that the people listening something from this as well. So, thank you for your time, and we'll get this live in the near future, and we will chat soon.
Okay, great.
All right, take care. Bye now.
Okay,
Peace.
yes, take care.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and if you did, could you do us a favor and leave some love and write us a review? My name is Stephen Dunn. I help physical therapists incorporate Pilates into their physical therapy practice. If you would like more information on how you can incorporate Pilates into your physical therapy practice, then like my Facebook page, Pilates for PTs.